little short time with her at the Tattered Flag, and we had a nice discussion. She grew up on the carbonates near Mechanicsburg. I didn't ask what formation, but that could be up for debate. Hailey went to Westchester University after having a introduction from her family to geology and wandering around picking up rocks. She got her bachelor and her master's at Westchester, and also had interest in some schooling in meteorology. She had spent some time in Austria too, and had some good times. She's got a challenging task here at the survey, and that task is to help modernize the Pennsylvania stratigraphic column. Many of us remember the day we first saw the stratigraphic correlation chart and said, wow, we've needed this for years, and it's helped us decide what are we calling the kind of Kajig formation when we're out in Lehigh Valley, stuff like that. So Hailey's working here, getting people together to make sense of what's left to unravel in the Pennsylvania geology, like why do formations change at county lines or at quad lines, stuff like that, which of course only geologists really know the secret to. So Hailey, thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I know I already got introduced, but I'm Hailey Filipelli. I've worked for the survey for just under a year now. It'll be a year on the 28th. And my entire time has been spent focusing on modernizing / modifying the stratigraphic column. And so that's what I'm here to talk to you guys about, because it's all I know right now. So just to get started, this is what I plan to discuss with you guys tonight. So what's the point? Why are we doing this? What did that process look like? How did I come up with that process? And the results of this project thus far. And then at the very end, we'll have probably some time for Q&A if anyone has any questions. Yeah, let's get into it. So why are we doing this? And that has multiple answers. The biggest reason is because the USGS came out with their Geo Framework Initiative, which is essentially they want to construct a national seamless 2D and 3D map by the year 2030. And they have all these different like funding sources and whatnot that are going into this initiative. And if anyone was curious, I was hired under the NGMDB, which I always forget what it stands for. Al.
It's the National Geologic Map Database.
Yes, I get it confused with the NCGMP. There's a lot of N's and M's, so it gets confusing. But yeah, so why start now if it's due in 2030? I mean, I know some of you probably can understand why we're starting so early. I mean, as you can see, we have the chart right there, but here's just a little snippet of it as well for those online. So the most recent comprehensive stratigraphic correlation chart is this one here. It was created in 1983, but it was last revised in 1993. So it's been about 30 years since this was revised. And since then, a lot has come out in the way of technology. We've made a lot of discoveries since then. And so we just thought that it was probably time to give it a little update. And especially because from the USGI's mission statement, they're looking for something seamless. And right now, and it's no fault of the geologists who came before, this is a capture of that moment in time and our knowledge in that moment in time. And stratigraphy is never perfect. It's never precise or neat, but we just have come to the realization that it just needs a little rejuvenation, a little zhuzh, you know? So it's that time, and that's why I was hired. And this is just Pennsylvania. Like, we still have to deal with our neighbors. So we got to deal with like West Virginia, Maryland, New York, and we'll get there. We'll get there eventually. This is just for Pennsylvania though today. And so now you guys might see the need for ModStrat if you didn't already assume what that need was. So the end goal of the project itself, and this project isn't just me, this is going to be an ongoing thing. I was just kind of the first leg in the project. But the end goal is to develop a comprehensive state-wide framework for Pennsylvania. We want to standardize the geologic names across the state. And we're looking to facilitate regional mapping and compilation, not only with us, but with others around us. And we're just shy of a year working on this project, and it's going to take a lot more time. And as a result of that, we're unsure right now of what the end product will look like. Al and I will maybe discuss that a little bit more at the end, but just for right now, it's kind of a big question mark. This first year was really focused on identifying discrepancies, though, within the stratigraphic column and within publications, and answering questions that come up throughout the research. So what does this process look like? This is the general process that I kind of developed, I would say, throughout the first couple months here. So first, gathering information on all PA units, geologic units, identifying discrepancies within those units, and then referring to my colleagues and others within the professional community, asking questions, trying to figure out why does this say one thing and this says something else. And the first two steps here often repeat before we get to that final step because of how I decided to break it down in order to make it more palatable. Because, you know, looking at the chart, that's a lot of stuff. So I was like, I need some way to break this down. So I decided to break it down by age. And we started at the bottom and worked our way up. And so once I have gathered information and identified the discrepancies for all unit within an age or within like ages, I will host the forum then for that age or those ages. And some of you might ask, what defines PA units? Like, what are PA units? I certainly asked the same thing when I came in, and they said, here's what you're doing. That's it. And so luckily for me, I had some predecessors who came before me who were able to compile basically a list of Pennsylvania geologic units. And this is kind of a screen capture of what that list looks like. Includes a lot of really helpful information. But unfortunately, some things that were listed include this, and this, and this, and this. And so as you can see, it can be vague. There can be multiple entries for one unit. And altogether, there were times it was just confusing as someone coming in and trying to like decipher this. And there were also 1,400 units on the list. So I had to go through all of them and find information for all of them. And I addressed some of these issues through my methodology. And there's actually a good reason for why they did it like this. So it was actually helpful, but at first it was confusing. So focusing back in on these two steps here, after I decided to sort these units by their ages and work my way through them like that, I had to figure out where am I getting my information from? Because there's so many sources out there. Not all of them are peer reviewed. Not all of them comply with certain standards. So I had to answer that question first. Like, what am I researching here? I wanted something that complied with the NASC or the North American Stratigraphic Code. And I wanted something consistent. And so what I decided upon was using our publications, Pennsylvania Geological Survey publications, dating as far back as I can get them, and GeoLex. For anyone who's unfamiliar, that's the USGS's lexicon of geologic units. And for those who aren't familiar, I'll be bringing the website up in a short bit just to show you what I use from that website. And so now I have the literature sources I'm using, but then what information do I need? And we kind of, after talking with Al and Kristen, who unfortunately isn't here in person, but has been such a big help, we decided on looking at geographic location, and this is for all 1,400 units. So geographic location, the rank of the unit. So if it's a formation, a member, a group, if it's a member within a group, if it's a standalone formation, that type of thing. Oh, am I moving too far? I'm sorry. I wanted to include like a general lithologic description if it was even possible to do such thing. Include an age and any discrepancies that I found. So AKA, for example, like 2 anti-shales. Why? Why are there 2? Is the Antietam and Harper's formation, are they undivided out of convenience or out of necessity? So like those types of questions. I came in acting like I knew nothing about geology and asked every question I could, even if it was probably a dumb question, but that's fine, right? So we now know what I'm looking for and where I'm getting that information. But there's another big question left, which is how do I search 2,399 PDFs for 1,400 rock units in 365 days? And this could literally be me the first month that I worked here trying to figure out that math. Luckily, Adobe exists, and even though it's still a lot of information, Adobe has a really neat feature called indexing, which I will sing the praises of for the rest of my life. Adobe's indexing function essentially allows you to catalog every word in a PDF and have it in an easily available index. So whenever you search something, it takes seconds instead of minutes or hours in some cases. And so I just wanted to quickly give you guys a demo of what it would have looked like for me if I would have not used indexing versus what it looks like when I use indexing. So really quick, let me just get this up for you guys. Okay, so I just pulled up a random publication, but if I were to, there's a couple different ways to search, but if I just do Control F, it only searches this particular document, which I would have to do over and over and over again for 2,400 documents. So that wasn't exactly the most feasible option. So the next option is using Adobe's search function, which let me drag over here. Al, you can see this on my right? Okay. So the next option would be choosing all PDFs in a file. So for me, just trust me, it takes a while. So for example, if I were to search the word Catskill in a folder, it would take, I would probably get about 10 documents in a result in about 10 seconds. Which doesn't sound bad, but if you consider 2,400 seconds, that's a lot of seconds for one thing. And also whenever you click on the results, it takes a while to load up. So this loses its pizzazz because I can't show you guys how long it takes with the other option, but this is how long it takes with indexing. So I'd say it's been about 10 seconds, right? 357 documents, and it's scanned all 2,400. And it's produced that, hey, this word is used in 357 documents, 7,192 times. So it's a lot faster, and it saved my butt, I'm telling you. So I just want to show you guys that because it's really important. It's a really big part of how I was able to pull this off. So I'm very appreciative for it. If anyone wants to know more about it, let me know and I can tell you all about it. I have a little how-to guide for how to make one too. So going from here, I know how I'm getting my information and I know what information I'm getting, but how do I keep track of all of it? And that's when I started to use Excel. So this is an example layout of like a unit entry sheet that I kind of concocted as we went along, depending on it morphed as we went. But I just wanted to break this down really quick. So the top section here comes from the original list that I showed you guys. So the first section includes like identifying information. So the original ID that they gave it in their research, it's geologic symbol and the name. The second section is ranking information. So if it's part of like a group, formation, bed, so on and so forth. And that last part there is information. So it's like its age, where they had found it in the resources, and any notes that they had taken on it. The next section is where I put everything I find in my literature review. So first part here, this is all the stuff that I look for. The top section is more like Harrisburg, here, Harrisburg, Middletown resources, and Pittsburgh is the bottom. The only reason I separated it is because for those who aren't familiar, Pittsburgh is our oil and gas section. So they do a lot of subsurface stuff. So I wanted to designate between surface and subsurface when I could, and that was just easier. And then within the columns or the rows themselves, I give a general description, the year that the publication was published, because if something's published in 1939 versus 2010, I might give more weight to the 2010 publication. The name that the unit is referred to as, because as we know, names change over time, rankings change over time, and then the oldest age and the youngest age that are listed in the publication. The right side here is what I like to call the Big Four, which Chris loves the name for some reason, but these are 4 really important publications that we have. I feel like am I out of the camera? Okay, sorry guys. 4 really important publications that we have and use. So, well, GeoLex it's not so much a publication, but it's USGS's lexicon. G75 is the stratigraphic correlation chart that we talked about. Map 1 is our geologic map of Pennsylvania. And then SP1 is Special Publication 1, and that's like the Holy Bible for Pennsylvania geology. It's basically like an entire textbook on geology here. And just quick, I wanted to show you, I should have moved this link. I literally told Chris earlier, I was like, I'm gonna have to move this link before the meeting. And that's fine. 1 second. Luckily, I have it bookmarked. Sorry, the internet's being slow. Okay. So this is the USGS's lexicon. It's really nice for those who have never heard of it or used it. Please use it. It's awesome. You can filter things by their age. You can filter them by state. Or what I do is I just search for the name. So I don't know why, but I'm going to use Catskill again. And what's also nice is not only do they give you the entry for whatever unit you're looking for, they also give you entries for units related to it. So like if it's a member of something or if it has members, it includes all of those as well. So if I click Catskill, it gives me any aliases or other names it's been called in the past. Anything with an asterisk next to it is something that's been published by the USGS. It gives you all of its subunits, geologic ages, type locality, and geologic province, as well as significant publications, which it then summarizes like the main point about whatever it's talking about. So this website has also been a lifesaver. So thank you, USGS, if any of you are here. That was very helpful. So back to the spreadsheet, we've then got the summary, and this is where I summarize everything from every publication that I found for a unit. So the absolute oldest age that I found in publications on a unit, the youngest age that I found, an age in general, if I can deduce it. So if everything lists a unit as like late Devonian, I'm guessing it's probably late Devonian. So I'll put that there. And then a general description, if it's even possible, for the unit. And so I'm going to show you just an example of what one of these sheets filled out looks like. So this is the Amity Shale. And as you can see, this is a good example. All of the publications listed it. If they gave a specific age, it was late Devonian, so we can deduce then that it's probably a late Devonian unit. The Amity Shale is listed twice in the original list that was given, so I was like, why is that? It's listed as both a member of the I'm going to say this wrong, Cattaraugus Formation, and it's listed as its own thing. So I had to figure out, is that geographically like changing, or is that like an old usage and now it's been upgraded in status, downgraded, whatever. And then down here where I actually take note of the publications and their information, anything that's weird or that doesn't seem right or conflicts with information that I have, I put in red. So for example, this publication suggested it was part of the Catskill, and as I know, this up here does not say Catskill, so that was put in red. So on and so forth. So we've now discussed how I gather the information, what I do with that information, and how I identified the discrepancies, or more like where I put the discrepancies, basically just highlighting them in orange. I know it's really fancy. But then the last step here is referring to the colleagues, my colleagues, and the professional community. And I do this through the forum series. So the first step of this is compiling all of those questions and conflicts I found, which making things orange makes it really easy. So it sounds simplistic, but it's helpful. I then compile that into a Word document and I share it with the staff here. And anything after it makes its rounds, anything that was left blank and unanswered, or someone is like, yeah, this sounds like it might be this, but I actually don't really know, so I'm not sure. Those types of responses, I also compiled those into an Excel spreadsheet, which if you've come to any of the forums, you've seen it. And I address all of these at each of the forum series. And then after the series, or at the series, I am basically a stenographer. So let me make this very clear. I have no stake in any of this. I just graduated college. I have no opinions. I have no preference, right? So it's whatever you guys tell me, and that's how it's going to be. So your information is coming in one ear and going through my fingers onto the computer whenever I'm at these forums. So I'm just typing everything out. We go through the questions that I found, and then we do an open discussion where I ask, hey, if you guys have found anything, please tell me, or if you have any questions, like tell me. And then we talk about that kind of stuff. It leaves like a fluid conversation on some of these ages or some of these units. And it's actually led to a lot of good points and a lot of good discussion. And I'll be honest with you guys, this is how I expected the forums to go. Everyone, I mean, and honestly, like I get it, because you guys, you know, have years and years into your professions and a lot of opinions and a lot of facts and knowledge. And I mean, I would probably hit someone too if someone went against my favorite formation or something, which I don't have, so I won't hit anyone. That wasn't a threat. But this is actually how the forums are going. Like, everyone's getting along, everyone's agreeing. There was maybe like one little cat fight and it was resolved easily. So it's going rather well, better than expected. And so now we'll get into the results. So after each of the forums, I take all of the comments that were made and I type them up into a summary. And in these summaries, I include like the unit name, a type section, and geolex link. Although in the more recent forums, I haven't been including that, but I'll go back and I'll include it. And then the question or conflict at hand, comments made on that question or conflict, and then the resolution we came to if there was any. And this basically usually breaks down into 3 different categories, which if you've been at any of the forums, you've seen this slide before. This was kind of a way for us to like mitigate if things were taking too long. So we didn't want to talk about, the shear formation for an hour, like we want to get through things. We want to leave time for open discussion. So it reaches a certain point and we'll stop and we'll say, hey, does this have a quick resolution? Or do we need additional collaboration and or research? Or maybe we just need to conduct additional field mapping. So generally, each of these questions fell into one of these 3 categories. And from there, we were able to make faster decisions and figure out what's going to take more time. What can we not decide here today? So I'm just going to kind of discuss quickly some of the quicker resolutions. Now, a disclaimer, this is not set in stone. This is just like the consensi? That's not a word. Consensuses that we came to at the forum. So these are not rules. This isn't formal. It might end up becoming formal if we publish about it. But I just want to give that disclaimer. So if anyone is offended and wants to fight me, don't. So these were some of the agreements that were come to. And it's actually funny. So I was practicing this presentation in front of Chris earlier, and I had the Helderberg and the Old Port switched, and Chris was like, we're not using the Helderberg anymore. I was like, no, wait, I'm sorry. No, that's not what I meant. So there was a general consensus that, hey, we're probably going to drop the Old Port nomenclature, going to use Helderberg. It's not set in stone. It's not set in stone, but that was what, the group of people at the forum decided. There was also a general consensus as well that like using a lithologic name. So like, for example, the Lowville limestone. Using lithology can get confusing and it can be kind of vague when it comes to talking about like the rank of something. And so generally, we would like to aim for using the rank name. So Lowville, I'm going to assume it's a formation, but I don't know because it's called a limestone. So like Lowville formation over Lowville limestone. And I guess it doesn't matter with the Lowville limestone because we're choosing to abandon it anyways, but that was just a general example. And that's not formally abandoned as of now. So you can still use it if you want, but I recommend against it. Another type of quick resolutions, these are the hierarchy and like relational resolutions. So like I said, I come to these forums and I don't know anything. I don't pretend to know anything. I'm asking dumb questions. I don't care. And so sometimes I get answers like, why are you asking that? These are some of like the responses. So I found publications that maybe assumed or, made it seem like the Anvil and the Loisberg might have been like equivalent, right? No, they're not. For the record, they're not. So that was a resolution. The Stonehenge had members in sub-publications, which I was told it is way too small in Pennsylvania to have members. And it was all said very nicely. Like, no one was mean. The Conococheague used to be a formation. It's not designated as such anymore. You'll see in the next slide. And then Chris laughed at me. The Stormville was said to be equivalent to the Schreiber. I got laughed at. That's not true either. So it's fine. I mean, I'm here to disprove these publications, right? Not disprove them. Oh gosh, that was the wrong word. Figure it out. We'll say that. And these were some better resolutions. So the Corriganville and the New Scotland, equivalent. Onondaga and Buttermilk Falls, equivalent. Conococheague is a group, not a formation. And the Pottsville and Elliott Park are said to be also equivalent. If anyone disagrees, once again, it's fine. It's up for debate still. This is just what we decided at the forums. And then finally, ages. We didn't go into this as much as time went on because people aren't as interested in it, but it's important for us to know. So these are just some of the ages that we figured out, like the Middle Cambrian Ledger, the Late Ordovician Rodman, and the Middle Pennsylvanian Butler. So the next type of result, collaboration and further research is necessary. These forums have spurred a lot of collaboration or potential future collaboration opportunities. I know we've done some informal stuff with USGS, working with them on mapping in Pennsylvania. I know that there's been talks about working with West Virginia and with Maryland's surveys, dealing with stuff at the state lines and whatnot. And then also it's spurred collaboration within the survey itself. We have been in talks, like for example, Chris and I are going to be doing, is anyone familiar with the term border bust? We're going to be looking at them in like central Pennsylvania-ish areas and just looking at like why are they there? The last type of result that has come from this is additional field mapping needed. And that's okay. That is where USGI comes back into play. They have all these awesome funding opportunities for us that we can propose these projects like, hey, we think that this area of Pennsylvania needs more mapping or this unit needs more mapping, and we can get funded for that and we can look into it. And so out of all of this, I mean, these are all great results, but the most important thing I think now that we understand is we now know what we don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty out there, a lot of conflicting opinions on things like, no, that's decided, no, that's not decided. No one knew really, it was all just kind of up in the air. And so now I think we have a better understanding of what is known and what is still unknown. And I think I talked really fast, but that's okay. Yeah.
Did you need to define a border bust?
Yeah, you should.
Oh my gosh. I just asked and then I didn't explain. Yeah, so a border bust is like between county lines or between quadrangles. Something is called, like formation is called one name in this quadrangle and a different name as soon as you cross the line, or things don't line up across boundaries. So it's figuring out why doesn't it line up? Why is it called something else? Was it like a matter of philosophy? Was it just the naming at the time? That's what a border bust is.
Different mapper.
Different mapper, yeah, different ideologies, that type of thing.
But yeah, sometimes it's the same mapper. Right? Like, it's one of the importance of this is, as Hailey explained, though, we want to reconcile differences between the state border, but you know, we have to get Pennsylvania reconciled first, so that's part of it. And I just want to add on, because I thought it was interesting, she had a slide up there that we are in active talks with collaborating with West Virginia, Maryland, and we're doing some projects with USGS, but not New York, because those people are miserable.
Chris was like, maybe you should put the New York survey on there. I was like, well, I don't know about anything.
No, and I don't mean that. It's just she stated a fact. We're currently working Maryland, West Virginia, and I guess we'll work someday.
No, we want to. New York, if you're here, we want to.
All right, you're open for questions. So anyone here online, just put it in the chat. All right, Ken, you get first.
Hey, Hailey, thank you for your talk. I was really concerned you were going to change my favorite formation. Anyway, how many people are in your mailing list that you've been sending out email blasts to, you know?
Oh, yeah, I should formally apologize to anyone in here that's on my mailing list.
Yeah.
I have sent out a lot of emails. Oh my gosh, there's probably like 1,500. I think I've been blocked by like half of them, but at least, yeah, 1,500.
And these forums, the people who would participate, we were doing hybrid, we were having them in this room and online. I think the most we had was around 57, 60 something total participants. And it varied depending on, she broke it up by age group. So people would come in when, oh, I know the story and like, I'm gonna, and then once we got, they were like, oh, that's not my forte, and they drop off. So we had a mix of people. So altogether, we probably had closer to 80 participants. So
I would say even more than that, actually. I would
we
say.
can say it.
You can add up
I may say that.
All right, so we have a question online. What is Kent Littlefield's favorite formation?
Very important. Wait, okay, he told me there's the Tuscarora, but is that the favorite?
Probably.
The Tuscarora, and we're not changing the Tuscarora, so it's safe. No, Tuscarora is pretty solid.
Yeah, Tom.
Okay, now, map one, when we digitize map one, there are a number of formations on there that will be like the Bergoon over here and the Pocono over here. And there is no border on it, so we had to drop an arbitrary border on it because you can't have, you had to close the polygons. And also there are quite a few number of bleed lines where you have formations broke down on this side, but not on this side. They're a group. How are you be able to resolve like the Pocono Bergoon question? You get call it all one formation or drop one of them, or
I'll handle this one.
Thank you.
We don't know. So this is where I like Hailey's conclusion is this was a step into identifying the discrepancies, and the resolution is not going to be one size fits all. Like we're going to have to come to resolution on the conflicts, especially, and we are going to produce another seamless map, a geologic map of Pennsylvania by the year 2030. So we do need to reconcile these issues, but at this moment, no, we're not sure.
Do we instill some confidence?